Hello, welcome to True Hoop with me, Jarod, Hector, and Coach David Thorpe. How are you, sir?
To quote my wife, my heart is full. I am well, Jarod. I am ready to tackle this pretty tough task we're going to do today.
My heart is full. Did you watch Friday Night
No,
Lights? The TV show? You did not
I
watch that.
read the book,
You're the book.
right?
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
football. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, yeah. What is that? What happened in that?
Well, because that is those of you who watch the show, that is the saying of Dillon head football coach Eric Taylor: "Clear eyes, full hearts can't lose." Right. That
Oh,
is
I like
before
that.
they take the field before every game. That's or any important moment in practice, whatever. Right.
I like that. No, mine was
I
just I
figured you will.
texted my wife. I texted my wife, whose birthday is tomorrow, and I said, besides dinner, I've been married to this woman 34 years, together 37. Like, baby, what can I get you? And my daughter had just gotten the job she was going after up in DC.
Congrats to Rachel.
My son's already got a job. Like, we really are the empty nesters now. They're just visiting from now on. And so she wrote back, nothing, my heart is full, with a blue heart. I'm not sure what that means, to be clear. I don't know what that means.
I don't think it's just like it's just a
I,
heart.
I hope not. I've not had the courage to ask.
No, I don't think you have anything to worry about. I think it was just the heart that she chose.
Yeah. So if she's got a full heart, man, so do I.
So do you.
And the season, like I have to watch a game tomorrow. Like, we have a basketball game at noon tomorrow.
Correct.
In Abu Dhabi, I think Denver or Boston.
Yes, correct.
So yeah, I've been talking to these players. I've been able to watch a lot of practice film. Players. Sometimes coaches will send them clips. Sometimes they'll send them the whole practice. Obviously, I never ever would release anything, but I've seen a lot around the league, and I'm excited. It's going to be a hell of a year, and I don't know who's going to win the championship. I have some ideas, but yeah,
of course we do. But that is the beauty of it, right? To start every year, and it's the hope and the excitement, right? And so that's what we kind of want to tap into today on today's show. As we continue with our sort of preview series, we're going to do 30 questions for 30 NBA teams. So, I mean, technically it's 60 questions because each of us have a question, but 30 questions for 30 teams just sounds better. And there are things that we're wondering and we're thinking about, and we'll get to that in a little bit. Very happy for you and Christy, obviously, with your family.
Me too.
The kids. It's probably kind of similar to when you deal with your players, where you feel like, okay, I can let you out of the nest now. You've done what I've asked. Like, you are ready. Not that you won't ever need me, but you're good.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because it's really hard. I've been doing this business for so long. That man, I never feel that way with my players going into an important game.
Right.
I always feel like, oh my God, what if Giannis does this? And back in the day, what if Kobe uses this? I struggle with that because I suffer for it. And I don't feel this way. I feel like our job was to help them kind of chase their passions and their talents and do the work requisite to get the first job. And after that, like,
you're on your own.
You're not on your own, but you're kind of on your own. And we can help. And I'm the goalie. I keep them in play. I've always kind of kept them in play. And I spoke to my daughter this morning on her. She's got a couple weeks before she can even start work, so she's not sure what to do. She's taking spin classes and walking, and like she's got a plan. But basically, I said, baby, go find a place to live now, and I'll cover your deposit. She's got plenty of money because she's worked since she was 16.
Okay.
But I'm happy to do some of those things. Plus, I'll get the money back anyway.
Right.
Yeah. No, honestly, the biggest thing is my wife was in charge of everything. And she was their principal in a sense. She was their main teacher when they would go to school each day. And her sense of relief that Rachel, she's with Marriott. It's a big fucking hotel brand.
Yep.
And she flat out told him on day one, like, I want to work at the Ritz in DC. But I got to pay my dues. And so starting whenever 2 weeks or so, she's going to be paying her dues. And
very nice.
The best thing I can say, and then let's get to basketball, is she told me today, I've already told like everyone there, I want to do everything to learn all aspects of the business. I had suggested it, and she said, Dad, I've already done it. Like, you need to work midnight to 8 shift. You need someone to come in on weekends. Like, I got nothing else to do. And I said to her, good, I got no sympathy for you. I worked 80 to 100 hours a week when I was 22 years old. Luckily, I liked it. And Chrissy, your mother, I was dating her at the time. So she was still in college, actually. I was just out. And she worked 30 hours a week and went to college. My wife did, my girlfriend then. So the only way to get ahead is fucking outwork people. Literally, I wrote those words to her before she called me. Outwork people. And they're not afraid of that. Neither are my kids. My son calls at 7:30 most nights, which is 6:30 his time. I'm sorry, 8:30 most nights. After just getting done playing pickup, he starts his days at 5:30 in the morning and has no complaints.
Yeah.
Welcome to the real world, bro.
That's it. They're doing what they love, and it's the message of outwork is what you tell your players, right? You tell them it's a war, man. You gotta fight and outwork. That's the only way you're gonna get ahead. And so,
work hard, work smart. Work hard, work smart. Take care of your body, take care of your mind. Message I give my players all the time. Even now, some of the guys, like training camp's not very hard.
Right.
Because some NBA coaches are smart. It's not the same. I talked to a head college coach yesterday who gets it, but most other college coaches don't. And they're murdering their kids already. They don't play for 5 weeks.
Yeah.
Some of these NBA guys,
they know.
The players are like, coach, one guy wrote me today, a starter, I'm dying to hoop. And I said, you're going to get all the hoops you could possibly want fairly soon, which he understands. But the coach is smart. Like, let's just take it easy here. Let's try to get to the season as healthy as possible. And someone made a point to me today, an agent did. You'll love this, Jarod, that it's not like it used to be where guys go to camp, maybe haven't touched a basketball, or they just maybe quit smoking the day before.
They've been doing this since August. They've been
all summer. They've been doing stuff more or less.
Right.
And so, these head coaches in the NBA, I think, are getting smarter about by the time we get to October 24, 25, 26 opening day, we're going to be just fine.
Yeah,
and so we have a ramp up process, and I think that's a good way to look at it.
And it's a marathon, not a sprint, right? Especially if you're a team that has designs on winning, you're playing into mid-June, late June, my friend. So we got a long way to go before we get there. So we had media weeks this week, David. So all the teams talking. We talked about it before on Monday, like the first day of school. Everybody's happy. Yay, everything's wonderful. Anything interesting that you heard from media days that surprised you or that caught your attention from anybody?
Only one thing.
Okay, go ahead.
I watched a lot of the press conferences, whatever. None of that was anything jarring. You're going to think I'm an old disgruntled man, which I mostly am. Not disgruntled so much. The whole the LeBron Bronny vibe, I did not like. The joyfulness, and I'm all about joyfulness, but it'd be different if this guy had a great college career.
Right.
He was drafted for one reason. He does have talent, but so do a lot of other guys. If his name wasn't LeBron James, I don't think there's any way he has the deal he has.
For sure.
And I just almost feel like they're throwing it in our face. I'm probably wrong. And I'm a huge Bronny fan. I've written articles about him. I just think it's going to be a really arduous road. And I feel that way when I watch other rookies acting like that. But you don't normally see it because they're not with their dad or even their brother.
Right.
It's fucking like this dude, you're going to be on the road in the G League. You got to go to Mexico City, my man.
Yeah.
Probably get your ass kicked there. You're going to have to go to Ogden, Utah. And let the Stars kick your ass. Like, there's a lot of places you got to go that aren't fancy.
Right.
And you can get your ass kicked a bunch. Thank goodness. That's where the lessons are. And so, the truth is, it's an amazing thing. Yeah. And it's really all about LeBron, not about Bronny. Well, it's great about Bronny that he made it, but really about LeBron. And so that's the only thing I noticed. Everything else, other than we're going to talk about with the rule changes.
Yep. So there is something joyous about seeing a dad and his son at work together in a sense that at the family business, right? Because basketball is the family business. Now that it's the Lakers and that he was picked where he was and he was given a guaranteed contract when no other second round and all that. I mean, that happens literally in every walk of life all the fucking time. So that part of it doesn't bother me. I'm like,
correct.
Happens all the fucking time. So
Agreed.
Whatever. The proof is going to be in the pudding ultimately. And for me, because of mostly what I know from you, because you have taught me so much about how to watch the game of basketball, but also from watching myself, it's the fear I have that you're not going to live up to this right now. It's going to take you some time. And I would prefer him not to have to go through the embarrassments or the whatever with all the spotlights on. I wish it was in the G League when no one gives a shit about him. And then, that's what I would prefer me personally for him. But I don't matter, so whatever. It is what it is.
No, but just take it a step further. You know what would be really terrible for this young man, and only this young man, and his family, would be the week after LeBron retires, he's cut from every NBA team and does get cut from an NBA team and doesn't get another job somewhere,
Correct.
and goes to Turkey or Poland or France or all the good leagues over there.
Right.
I don't want that for him.
Right.
And so I just when I'm talking to my young guys who are in this very similar position to him, except that they're just much better players right now. There's no puppy dogs and ice cream moment. There's just none. And we just got to grind and work, including first round picks that I've talked to. Grind and work, and no celebrations.
Yep.
And so just seeing him, doing some of the stuff he was doing with his dad, it just kind of rubbed me the wrong way, only because I worry that he doesn't realize the enormous mountain he has to climb, which he probably does. To be fair, LeBron is very sober. He understands the business, I think, certainly as well as I do, if not better. Obviously, he's definitely lived it. And I don't think he's messaging to Bronny, you got it made, relax, we'll go play golf today.
Right.
I don't think that's the case. And so it's okay to let your guard down sometime, as long as, and this is the key point, as long as you know to pick the sword right back up, right? Because that's really the reality of the business is when you do take a day off, when you do smile a few times and whatever, you just got to get back on the horse and grind away. But a lot of guys struggle with that, Jarod.
Yeah, no,
they struggle with that on-off mentality. You always have to be on. It's exhausting.
You say it all the time. I know it. I see this game is fucking hard. This league is fucking hard. It's the best league in the world. Like, to make it is one thing. To keep your place is another thing. To earn your, it's just like there's levels to this, man. And like, look, it's a grind. And again, LeBron is no dummy to this. He knows. So I think Bronny's not going to come in thinking, this is easy. But to your point, again, all right, we can have some fun, but you got to work, my man. Like, you ain't me. Like, right? You don't have the skill set I had and the size and all that when I came in. Like, got to work.
The only thing they have in common is they both have ears. To be honest, LeBron was a once in five, literally.
Correct.
How many generations? 5, 6, 7?
Correct.
Player. That rare of a player. One of the two best of all time, unquestionably, in my opinion.
Correct.
And many people's opinions. And Bronny just isn't that guy.
Right.
So what do we talk about? We talk about human nature. And when you have some success, you tend to relax. This is my issue with college recruiting. Your people are recruiting teenagers. Many of them have never experienced any kind of financial success before. That's now part of the NIL deal.
Right.
It always kind of has been illegally. Now it's just legal. They're on TV. Everyone's following everything. When before they were anonymous for so long anyway. And so many of them fail in college football, especially for that reason. I think they thought everything would be puppy dogs and ice cream because it has been for a while.
Ain't that?
I know, like I told my kids, I told my daughter and my son, like, we can afford to pay for whatever, but we're going to pay for as little as possible so you can grow up and figure it out. I'm never going to let you die or go hungry or whatever, but hopefully you won't need me to do that because you don't want me to have to do that.
Right.
I just keep them grounded. I literally said to my daughter the other day, the Sunday mimosas that you did in college at the place and the cocktails in the bar at $20 because I've been with her and I know the bills, those are gone. Even when you're paying for it.
Right.
That's just stupid. You could do it before because you made your own money.
Right.
But we still helped whenever you needed it. Mom, we had a 529. We always funded it. That is gone. The 529 is still there because she'll use it for grad school one day.
Right.
But you're not getting an allowance anymore. You have a job. She's a decent, tens of thousands of dollars. She ain't going to get rich. She can pay her bills. So it's a sober thought. And honestly, I think, and this is probably where I'm being more alarmed than I should be. My guess is LeBron has had this same talk with his son many times over. There's a time for joyfulness. And then you've seen me, son, every day for your whole life.
Correct.
Work and work and work. I've talked to so many players who had 1 day training camps, not 2 days. And they would just go. I talked to a player last night, 2 days on day 1, day 2, just one workout. So he was going to the gym on his own. There was 2 players I talked to that did that. Good for you. Like that's what this week is for. And so I just want to make sure Bronny doesn't feel like, I got it. I'm good.
Yeah.
And so that's why it rubbed me the wrong way. There's nothing wrong with it. We'll see if there's nothing wrong with it going forward, though, because he's got to stay nose to the grindstone.
Like everything, time will tell. The other thing that was of note for me was some comments out of San Antonio and from Victor Wembanyama. And, you and I talked about how much we love his perspective and how mature he is and focused and grounded for such a young guy, and for all the expectations that are on him. So he said, and I'm paraphrasing, year one was about learning the NBA, learning each other, teammates. Like that was what was expected of us. He's like, I expect us to win in year two. And I was like, look at this guy. Like, I just love his mindset. And he talked about how the Olympics, he was like, it's so hard to win a game in the Olympics, but it's so easy to lose one. And he talked about how that focus for 40 minutes and all of that is fueling his work this summer and into what he's going to carry to take into this season. I'm like, boy, oh boy. If you and Chris Paul develop a little bit of synergy in the pick and roll, he teaches you a couple things like, hey, buddy, when you set the pick here, do this and come at this angle. Like, you're so big, you'll get these little things off. Just a little incremental growth offensively, because he's already, as we talked about, David, as a rookie, he was already in the 90 whatever percentile in overall EPM. But overall. Yeah. So even if he gets slightly better on not even his ceiling, just a little bit better, fucking A. Like, they're going to be really good. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, me too. They added Harrison Barnes. They're Devin Vassell's out till November 1 at least. That sucks, but that's only a weekend of the season.
Yep.
I mean, he's learned a lot too. He's been playing with men for quite a while. The NBA game's different, but Chris Paul certainly knows a lot more about point guard play and pick and roll play than the guys he played with last year. So
for sure,
yeah, he's definitely. I mean, Wemby's definitely a stock that you want to invest in right now.
I mean, probably too late. You should have bought it already when he was the 16-year-old in France. Too expensive now.
Actually, probably not. It's probably still not too expensive. I mean, he's gonna be that good. Yeah.
All right. Rick Carlisle had some interesting quotes, David. And he basically said, let's get ready for FIBA ball. So he said, it's going to be much more physical this year. Games are going to look a lot more like FIBA than the old freedom of movement NBA. And it's about the potential officiating changes that are happening in the NBA. Now, if that is in fact the case and it's more FIBA ball, what does Rick mean by that?
I think he explained it a little bit. Well, we talked with this on the show last year. There was a real change. It was just so obvious. If you remember, I was talking to you guys early in the season and sending you clips like this is just garbage. These foul calls are so terrible. And so it's just a change in interpretation. They just didn't call as much. It was very obvious to me that there was a memo, for lack of a better term, like quit fucking blowing the whistle so much for losing an audience.
Right.
And the reason why I know that is because I've never seen more late calls in my life. And I've never been one to complain about late calls. I want accurate calls. However, watching the NBA as closely as I have since 2003, and a huge fan before that, I've even shown you the clips where
you said them.
Guy shoots it, there's clear contact, referee just looks at it. As soon as the ball bounces out, he raises his hand.
Right.
Like, come on.
Right.
Like anyone, my wife could see that. Anyone could see that. And so I think we're going to see more of that. We saw a change midseason last year. We're just going to see more of the delayed calls, which means less and ones. Literally, that's what it means. And we're going to see, I just think, a more tolerance for grabbing and holding, which according to Rick in the article, he said they showed them film in a coaches meeting of what's not going to be called this year compared to last year. And but a year ago they changed mid-stride, so we could change again. They could decide, we don't want to get 82-81 with the two best teams. That's not good basketball. I don't think.
No, we don't.
With the talent on the court now.
No.
So we're going to see the teams that have 5-out spacing, meaning the 5 guys, the center especially. 5-out has 2 meanings. 5-out is 5 players out. 5-out also means the center being the 5 out, because that means typically, not always, you're dragging the opposing center out
away.
That's the guy that tends to foul the driver, especially the second unit one. And so you're going to have teams like Rick's team that's going to have Miles Turner on the court for 32 minutes to 36 minutes most games. He's going to drag his 5 out. The Pacers led the league in paint scoring last year, but way down the list in free throws per game for that reason. They're driving more than anybody, but no one's there to foul them. And so a team, that means they're going to be affected less with these changes, potentially, than the team like the Knicks, right? Like Joel Embiid and the Sixers, who are more half-court prone, not necessarily 5-out. Certainly this year, the Knicks with Cat can change that.
Correct, sure can.
We expect them to, where the bully ball isn't going to result in the free throws nearly as much against for the teams that have the center out. But it'll be something to watch. I don't know that it'll make an impact, but it's worthwhile. I mean, an impact in terms of standings might make an impact in terms of enjoyability, the aesthetics of the product.
Yep.
We'll have to see how that goes.
Well, it's interesting because you mentioned Embiid, and I'm thinking of the Olympics and one of the early games in group play when Embiid's going through his normal motion and move, and expects to hear a whistle from the ref, and the ref's just like, whatever, and they're going back the other way, and he's like, what? I'm like, nah, buddy, not in this talking show. We don't call those like that foul grift thing. So it'll be interesting to see how that all works out for certain.
Yeah,
players.
Just real quick. There's a spectrum. So on one line, it's every touch is a foul. Give someone a stink eye, you might get called for a foul. The other side is how we grew up playing pickup, and certainly with my
no
life,
blood, no foul.
Yeah, no blood, no foul. So, I mean, I've only said that 8,000 times before I was 17 years old. Even forget about college, where we just played in the projects every day. Although that was the best basketball I ever played in. It was fucking amazing. It was physical, though. And we were used to it. And these guys are big-ass men. They're going to be just fine.
They'll fine.
What I don't want is the brutal fouling to be allowed.
Right. We don't want clotheslines. Like, we don't want wrestling. Like,
correct.
Not.
We don't want the McHale versus Rambis.
No.
That's just, to me, football.
They're right. That's combat sports. We're not doing that. This is something else.
I don't think it's good for our game.
No.
But holding a little bit more is okay. I don't want to see clipping. I don't think they'll allow that. I don't think it'll be illegal screens allowed all of a sudden. I think it'll be more holding your guy a little bit more, not letting him get to a screen so easily. It's a common thing if you're a big defending your big and your big is going to set a screen, you're kind of trying to keep him from that. I think that'll be more permissible like it is in FIBA and in European basketball in general. And that's fine. There's ways around that.
Yep. All right. We will definitely be paying close attention to that as the season goes on. All right, David. So 30 teams, 30 questions. That is our mission that we are tasked with. Now, we're not doing all 30 teams today because we don't have that kind of time. We're going to start with the Eastern Conference. And basically, again, this is a question that David has and I have for each of these teams. And we're going to talk about why we are asking this question. All right, David. So we'll start with the also-rans of the Eastern Conference. Sorry. The Brooklyn Nets. What is your question going into this season for the Brooklyn Nets?
So just to be clear, I did not prepare on purpose. I want to just be gut, although I've thought about all these teams a lot. And I don't always think in questions, although I do wonder about a lot.
What are you wondering?
Right. If it turns out to be a question, so be it. I'm not even going to go to the Ben Simmons things.
That's just, whatever.
I do have curiosity about that.
As we all do.
I just wonder at what point are they going to just start selling their players that have some value. I mean, that's for this team. That's all I'm thinking about is I saw a fake trade yesterday with Cam Johnson. What are they going to do with Nick Claxton? I mean, there's a number of guys Cam Thomas that are intriguing.
Yep.
And is it going to be when a team suffers an injury? Is it going to be no? From second one, we're taking phone calls and we're looking to get as many picks and young players as we can. Like if Ben Mathurin isn't working out for the Pacers, which I'm not predicting,
right?
Do we take a flyer on him? That kind of thing. So that's what I'm wondering.
So with Brooklyn, I took a look at their roster, and obviously, that's a team I'm closest to in terms of that I go to most of their games here in the city and talk to people around that franchise. I'm wondering, is Jordi Fernandez, is he going to be Kenny Atkinson 2.0? And what I mean by that is when Kenny came to the Nets, that became a development project, right? And he developed players like Karis LeVert, Jared Allen. He got Spencer Dinwiddie. I want to say he was close to all-star level, if not an all-star game. Under Kenny Atkinson. And when you look at that roster, as you mentioned, David, there's a bunch of vets on there who don't seem to fit the timeline of your younger players. So that's the piece where we're like, well, this is incongruent right now, right? So when are you going to get rid of those guys so that you can incubate with these young guys? And who are you incubating with, particularly as a player I'm thinking about that played, I think he played with Bronny, if not at the same high school, Amari Bailey. I don't know if he's any good or not, but my thing is, you're not trying to win this year anyway, is my guess with the Brooklyn Nets, right? So why not?
You can try to win or not. It's not going to matter.
You're not going to win anyway. So my point is, why don't you see who these people that we picked up are, especially the young ones, not the vets. Is Amari Bailey any good, or else why do we have him here? Like, who are these guys? And again, Fernandez is a first-year head coach anyway. So to me, it would probably be best for him to coach a bunch of young kids than it is to deal with a bunch of veterans. But that's just me.
Wouldn't it be nice to have Cooper Flag?
Well, see, and so while you lose and you're learning, you could also be up there to get Cooper Flag. See, it all works out. It's a beautiful thing.
The NBA, where we reward incompetence.
See, David called it incompetence. I just said, well, I'm not sure what you guys are going to be, so why don't you just play the young kids? All right, the Wizards, David. What are you wondering about in Washington?
Oh boy, they're so oddly constructed.
Yes.
And so that's another team where some of these bad teams like Detroit, I kind of have an idea of what their vision is. Washington's got Poole and Kuzma with, Bilal
Brogdon.
And Alex Sarr. Brogdon, right? So I kind of have the same curiosity as I have a couple. One is management, who's well respected, but I don't know those guys. Do you even know who their head coach is?
It's Brian Keefe.
Keefe, right? I don't know anything about him. I can go a little more deeper. I'm excited to see what Bilal's got. I think Koulibaly's got a lot of talent, and Avdia's gone now. So that'd be the second thing is what are they going to do? What's their vision? What's their strategy? We should see that this year. I'm sure they'd love to have Cooper Flag too. And then also, what's Bilal looking like? I am not panicking if he's bad in year 2. Some people panic after 2 years. I don't. He's so young. And
how old is he? 20? 21?
Yeah, he's super young. But if he's showing some stuff, all right. Even if Sarr's bad this year, he's just a rookie too. Right. Like you got to build her on something. That'd be fun. And I'm going to be going there a bunch because that's where my daughter is. So it's
as always, great minds think alike. So my question was, can the Wizards quickly get out of this limbo that they're in? And it's what David talked about. You have Brogdon, Kuzma, Poole, and Valanciunas. That on their face alone is a level of NBA competence, which means it suggests they're going to be competitive in games and win games. But that doesn't seem like they want to do that with Sarr, Koulibaly, Bub Carrington. They got a bunch of young dudes who, are they any good? So the question again is, why are we even doing this? Like, to me, especially, again, first-year head coach and Brian Keefe. Like, there's a weird thing where you have veteran players who want to compete hard and are used to competing hard and winning, like a Brogdon type of player is. And then you have Koulibaly and these young dudes who don't know anything from anything, like puppy dogs with their heads cut off, as David always says. Right. So let's let Keefe get the young kids developing, and you're going to lose a bunch of games. So what? And then you get good stuff in return for Brogdon, Valanciunas, Kuzma, all that, and you replenish. That's what I think they should do. What will they do? I don't know. We will see. Time will tell. All right, Chicago Bulls.
I loved Lonzo Ball.
He has a new knee, he said. I basically have a new knee.
I loved him. I loved this guy as a player. I really did. Going back to when he was shooting the ball left of his left eye, like Kevin Martin used to do. Kevin and I both were getting a lot of phone calls in those days about it. But I just loved his vision, his passing ability, and his defense. I thought he was I had him number 2 in that draft. I don't remember what number 1 was, but he was my number 2. And so I just wonder, what is it going to be? 60%, 40%, 90%? I have no idea. I believe in science. Yeah. I believe in medicine. Yeah. He's got a great heart. I'm sure he's trained his ass off. And I will tell you this. The very first preseason game he plays, I'm going to give him a standing ovation from my viewing room, which is in the other room here in my office. Because I know just vicariously through all my players over the years what he's had to go through to get back on the court. So I'm going to stand up and give him a standing ovation when he plays.
David, it would have been so easy to quit and understandable if he did decide to do that, right? I mean,
for sure, happens all the time.
I mean, who wants to deal with this shit? Like constantly, I'm out.
Hard. Rehab is so hard for so many reasons. I had a player. I've had more than one player in tears, and they were out for like a month. This guy's been years. So standing ovation coming for you, Lonzo. From David Thorpe.
Lonzo Ball said his aim is to play opening night for the Chicago Bulls. Go. He also said, obviously, there'll be no back-to-backs, and he's kind of very clear and sober about what's going to be going on with him. I'm rooting for him as well. Chicago's very much in a somewhat similar position to
Yeah.
Washington, right? So my question for them is, when are they going to trade Levine and Vooch? Like that, because clearly,
And Ball if he can
well,
play.
sure, and Lonzo as well, but like those two especially, right? When are you going to get off those deals and figure out your rebuild? So that's what I'm waiting on to find out in Chicago. All right, the Detroit Pistons.
I mean, I already wrote about Cade,
Mhm.
and so I do have a lot of wonder about, is this the year he makes the break? Forward. I'm hoping so. I'm super intrigued with the Thompson twins. We do
You
Houston
love them.
tomorrow. I mean, Monday. I'll say the same thing about our men. Yeah, I like Ron Holland, the rookie. He won't matter this year. I'd like to see Asar shoot better, and I'm wondering how effective can he be if he can't, because I think he's a truly. I think both those kids are young men are truly blessed talents, and I'm going to throw in Jaden Ivey too.
Yep.
I'm a huge fan of his talent. Was higher on him than most. He made an enormous jump last season, and the national media just doesn't give him credit for it because they were bad. But he wasn't. He didn't play great, but he was terrible as a rookie on a terrible team. And last year he was middling on a terrible team. That to me is encouraging.
Yeah.
That's a good sign. So I'd like to see Jaden and Asor make big jumps. Those two cats at the 2 and the 3 next to Cade. If Cade's cooking and Jaden can play off him and Asar can play off him, that's a super athletic 2-3 with and all of them can be primary ball handlers, all three of them. Jaden's an underrated passer. Asar is considered a good passer already. And I think that could give them an exciting trio in the backcourt. And so, yeah, I'm really excited and curious about those two guys.
So you and I talked about Detroit and our excitement for their young guys pretty much all summer and, towards the end of the season, last season. So I went a different way with my question. And my question for Detroit is, will their playoff tested veterans that are on this roster actually raise their floor? They have Tobias Harris. They have Paul Reed. They have Tim Hardaway Jr. They've just got some guys who, again, not, superstar whatevers, Malik Beasley, but dudes who have played in big playoff games and have experience. Will that, coupled with what we think the ascent of the young guys be, will that be enough to raise the floor of this team where it's like, shit, they might sneak in and get that 10 spot? I don't know.
This is what I was saying about Brooklyn, as Detroit just may pull some really stupid mistakes because they have a new coach and a new GM, so they don't own Cade or Jaden or really Thompson.
Right.
This is just how the world is. Is that if I didn't draft you, I don't give a fuck about you. I don't care much about you either way. That's how the NBA is. But I really don't care if I didn't draft you.
Correct.
And so if I'm Brooklyn, man, I'm trying to peck away at any of those three dudes. I've got, you guys, hey, Tobias is playing good. And if Detroit actually wins some games and fans are excited, they're not going to care about Jaden Ivey playing 5 minutes a game. And so maybe they'll take Cam Johnson, and GMs can be stupid, teams can be stupid, owners can be stupid, and lean into the success they're having with maybe just Cade and possibly one other. And they'll get rid of some of these really talented young guys for these veterans, which is such a dumb move.
Agreed.
But the good have feasted on the bad always. Let's never forget, Bill Russell's draft slot was traded for dancers. Red Auerbach was running. I've talked to Red a little bit when he was alive, obviously, and Butch Lambreticoff, who used to come to my gym to watch me train guys, having never seen anyone doing as a business player development for other people's coaches. He lived in Clearwater, close by. He would just come watch me train. We had a lot of talks back in the day. He was a lovely guy, actually. Talked a lot about Will Chamberlain, too, in a cool way. But, Bill Russell's slot was traded for, I think, the St. Louis owner.
Yeah.
Like, the smart have always run circles around the stupid. And so I hope Detroit doesn't say, you know what, we're having some success with our veteran guys like you're saying. We don't need Ivy and Thompson, those guys. And if they do, I hope someone like Brooklyn grabs them.
Yeah, smart on Brooklyn's part. All right, folks, we'll be back after a brief commercial break. All right, David, those were the also-rans. We're now moving into teams that, we're looking around the play-in area, potentially. All right, the Atlanta Hawks.
I'm really worried about that franchise. So I'm wondering, they're teetering on the brink. From
They
from
are.
my inside sources
They are.
in the league, there's people inside Atlanta on the staffing side, um, including not really just coaches, but people in that area working for the Hawks, who just aren't very impressed with how their franchise is being run. The players I've talked to seem fine, but I don't know if they're going to fall off the cliff
Early.
after what they went through just a few years ago. They're in the Eastern Conference Finals. Um, I I'd like to see a sense of normalcy and professionalism. I saw Quinn Snyder talking in media yesterday, actually. Let's see what Trae Young, if he can provide that kind of leadership. It doesn't look great, but maybe.
Right.
But yeah, if they're in the play-in running, all right, that's a good sign because they also could not be.
Oh, for sure. I when I was doing this, David, I'm always going at Trae Young. So like, let me leave Trae Young alone and not go there. My question.
So you went after DeAndre Hunter or Okonwu.
I did.
Right?
I did. But it's not in a bad way. What is DeAndre Hunter's ceiling? And can he reach it in Atlanta? That is my question. Because, David, this is a guy who was 6'7", athletic, great wingspan. We can guard. I've seen him have 35 and 11 in a play-in game against the Miami Heat. Like, he can do stuff, David. I just wonder what his ceiling is, and B, is that the right environment for him to achieve it? And based on everything you're saying, the answer to part B is probably no.
Yeah, what hasn't been, yes, maybe things will change this year. I'm not getting the warm and fuzzies on their professionalism and commitment. There's a lot of talk this summer about banking on Jalen Johnson. He's a bit of an enigmatic. I think he's super talented, but he's a pretty big enigma. But they have some talent there. And we saw Bogdanovich this summer play pretty well. Trae obviously is an incredible offensive player. They have two legit centers, I think. They've got some guys, I think, come off the bench that could be okay. They drafted Kobe Buffkin last year. We could see him. But
they have talent.
Like I said, if they can be okay, if they can compete for 35-plus wins, they're not slipping backwards. I'm just worried. I'm wondering if they're going to slip backwards, and that would be the alarming thing.
Yeah, no, for sure. All right. The Charlotte Hornets.
I mean, yeah, the low-hanging fruit is LaMelo, and so I'll touch on that. I wonder if he's figured out that style doesn't mean a damn thing when you're losing. People get tired of it. Maybe your friends don't. Maybe the local community there doesn't. But like, no one's even talking about LaMelo. You've been injured, which is not necessarily his fault, but it could be. I have no idea. Don't know how hard he's working. He's got to put substance. I'm just a lot less worried about the fancy pass as I am the right one over and over again, which he's gifted at doing both. He's an amazing hit-head guy. And then I'm super excited about Brandon Miller. Can he make another big thing? And I've heard great things about Charles Lee. I talked to people in Boston coaching. I mean, everyone involved. Talked to player, executives, coaches. They thought he was great. So I like their future. If he's good, I like their future a lot. I'm impressed with their management crew. I like the guys they picked. I'm a huge Mark Williams fan. LaMelo has no excuse anymore, barring the injury thing again, where he can grow with this unit. They could be the Pacers of last year in 2 years, maybe
100%.
In 2 years. Just incredible offensive talent.
100%.
If LaMelo needs to embrace that serious role.
Great minds think alike. I was thinking about, so my question is, will LaMelo buy into Charles Lee? And really broadly what I'm asking is will LaMelo and Charles Lee establish a relationship built on trust?
Yeah.
Because Charles, coming from Boston, right? He won last year. He experienced winning the last few years, right? It ain't that in Charlotte, right? So he's going to take a certain professionalism, how we handle our business, and this is how we do things to Charlotte. Will the main guy, LaMelo, buy in? Because if he is bought in and those guys have a relationship built on trust, all the other dominoes have to fall into place, right? But if he's kind of doing his own thing and whatever, and I'm just going to be cool on social, well, they're going to be what they've been, which is nothing to write home about. And that'll be actually pretty sad. All right, Raptors.
Quickly, I think we know who he is. Scotty, we know he is MVP level talent, in my opinion. MVP of the finals, anyway. And RJ Barrett's a big question mark for me.
Mhm.
We've talked about him. I like this. I wonder about Darko. I actually think Toronto can really play into the play-in round. I think they've got a lot more talent. I heard Masai and some of the people talking about. I think even Pirtle. We're not a championship team, true, but don't act like they can't be a playoff team. This is not a team that should be tanking with the talent they have and their payroll. They're paying Scotty. He's getting a max deal in a year. RJ's making a bunch of money. Quickly's made a bunch of money. Pirtle's making a good amount of money. I think if Darko is as good as what my friends say he was not last year. That doesn't mean he can't be good this year.
Mm-hmm.
Then, all right, we've got the makings of something really exciting. It'll be different than what they've done before. That's fine. Who cares? They'll be good. I've already seen trades about RJ, which is a little bit premature in my opinion. Yeah, he's from Toronto. Let's see how he does. But I don't know. I don't know that he's going to be the answer that they think he is. The Knicks made them take RJ because he wasn't worth the money he was paying. He's being paid. He was in Toronto. It just didn't matter. The team was not trying to win.
Right.
So now let's see. Can he be a winning player on a winning team? Let's see.
Yeah. I like the pieces they have in Toronto. My question is, so Scotty made the jump last year to an all-star. He was an all-star last year. As David Thorpe says on this podcast, that the hardest leap to make in David's opinion is all-star to superstar.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying he's going to make that leap this year, but I am asking, can he make another significant leap this year? Because if he does, he is the rising tide that lifts all boats, right? Because if he's good and he's like another level up, the shooting's consistent, like all that, then it's like, well, you guys can all play off him well. Will that happen? That's my question.
Yeah, power forward, I think, is the most talented position in basketball in the NBA. I think there are more, if you take whoever's the 20th rated power forward, I think that guy's better than any other 20th rated player in any position. People can look it up, but that's what I think. And so if you can get to all NBA contention, that means you're top three. I don't know if he can get there. And first of all, he shouldn't be a power forward. He's really just a guard.
Right.
But let's just call him forward. So there's 6 or so forwards. Can he be in the running of the top 10, top 12? That would be amazing considering he's still on a rookie deal.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't happen very much.
No, not at all. All right, let's move on to our playoff teams, or teams that better make the playoffs or else somebody's getting fired. The Milwaukee Bucks.
Boy, I don't want to go to Doc. And you can do Dame and Giannis if you want to. I don't know where they're going to get other like real generation of excitement. What young players, what veterans that have played smaller roles going to take a step up. Brook Lopez, no. Giannis probably is at best where he's always been. Same with Dame, probably. So where else are going to get growth? I heard someone say the other day, you wouldn't think on paper Indiana would have the number 2 offense of all time, but they did. Even with Tyrese bad half the year, they did. And Siakam playing half the year, they did. Okay, Milwaukee, what can you do, given your roster, where you can outplay what it looks like you'll do on paper? That I have a big wonder about that because I'm not as high on them as most others. You aren't either. And that's why is I just don't see the elasticity from the rest of the guys. I could be wrong. Would love to see Beauchamp and whoever. But yeah, I wonder about, are they going to get some other surprising guys as opposed to the guys that we know what they can do? And you need those kind of guys.
100%. My question is, and it's really a question to the team management and front office, do they already regret the Damian Lillard trade? And I mean, they would never say this, but my guess is yes, they do, because it's exactly what you just said. Where's the elasticity? Even if Dame is what he's historically been, and that's a big if, right? Because he's not 26. He's on the other side of 30, right? So let's say he's just all-star, borderline all-NBA level again, which is good. And Giannis is the same, right? In the running for MVP top 5. That's still good, but to your point, who's going to outperform and be like, whoa, look at this? Not going to be Chris Middleton, right? It's probably going to be, if you're lucky, what he was. And Brook is probably going the other, not probably, he is. If you look at EPM, he is trending down. Brook is 36. So he's not going to get better. And again, you have there's no, what's on your roster? Who are you trading to bring in? It's like, all right, we got this young guy who can do this, this, and this. I don't see it, and we know how Doc coaches. He's going to ride his veterans because, look, this team costs a lot of money, so they've got to do what they got to do and make the playoffs, right? So Yeah, I just think that again, as you said last year or 2 years ago when you said they should trade Giannis. And
Last year.
last year. And, obviously Milwaukee wanted to, what is that? Coach Thorpe notice? I'm like, no, I think Coach Thorpe knew he saw the writing on the wall. Like, this is kind of
Well,
where you are.
I thought they should trade him to OKC
Right.
because OKC has a shooting 5.
Correct.
And
And a shit ton of draft picks and,
right. OKC, I think, would have given Boston a 7-game series for Giannis. So I understand why they didn't, but I'm not so sure they wouldn't have won a championship last year. This was before they were number 1 seed.
Right.
They were number 1 seed without Giannis.
Correct.
J-Dub is a second-year player playing out of position, and they were the number 1 seed in the West. I think with Giannis could have been pretty special. So whatever. They both parties went a different route. It worked out fine for OKC. They weren't champions.
Yeah, OKC's fine.
They weren't champions.
Right.
But Milwaukee, yeah, you're probably right. They're probably asking the same questions.
I think so.
Just to interrupt real quickly, I often sometimes I'll get phone calls on my cell phone from numbers I don't have it in my contacts, and sometimes I have wondered because it's happened before. I wonder if this is going to be an owner. Not offer me a job. I'm pretty clear about.
I heard what you said on your podcast about us.
Yeah, like, are we really that stupid? Because I'm a truth teller when I talk to owners and coaches and agents. Don't call me if you want some sugar. I don't need your fucking job. I don't want your fucking job.
Right.
You're going to get the truth from me. You're going to get the honest answer from me. And so when it's been a few years, maybe probably since the pandemic, I haven't talked to an owner. But it's been a couple of conversations when I have to tell them like you can't play, you can't bully like you can. And I had literally one billionaire owner tell me, well, I do this and this is my business. I said, yeah, but you're paying your head coach X a million and you're paying that player 5 times as much.
Right. Exactly.
None of your employees in your business, it's different in hedge funds or whatever.
Right.
Where some of these guys are cutting $100 million contracts and more. Right. Like you can't do that for your engineers and your tech business, dude.
Nope.
Like they can't call a press conference and do whatever they want to do. That's what I told him. He didn't love that. We haven't talked since. But whatever. Like sometimes I wonder about that. So if Milwaukee does ever call, I don't know who the owner is anymore. Yeah, I've got some things.
We're only telling what we think and what we believe the truth is. Like, listen, you're a luxury tax team. What are they up against? The first apron? They got to be a first apron team at least, or pretty close to it. And odds are you're not going to win a championship this year. That ain't great.
Listen, the odds aren't great. You're going to host a first round series.
Well, there you go. There you go. All right, Cleveland Cavaliers.
Oh boy, I'm gonna look at 2 things. I'm wondering about Darius Garland. Can he make a return to normalcy? These guys should still be ascending some because I love their talent. I love their roster construction. I think management's done a good job. And I'm a huge Kenny Atkinson fan. Did not do great at the end in Golden State. Was so good in Brooklyn when he was the head guy. So if Kenny can whisper some love and inspiration and be the wind in the sails of Darius, if Darius can figure that on his own and Kenny can do his thing with everyone else, now I'm wondering, okay, can this be – we don't know who the number 2 team is. It's easy to say Philly with Embiid, but there's warts there. I think the Pacers have a chance. I think the Knicks have a real chance. But I also think Cleveland has a chance. If they can get Darius right and Kenny kind of finds a way to help their offense some, keep their defense top 5, whatever, yeah, they're a hell of a team.
Yeah. David, we're spending entirely too much time together because my question is, what did Kenny Atkinson learn from his time in Golden State? And I don't necessarily mean X's and O's. One of the things that Steve is good at, besides the tactical stuff about basketball, is Steve is a good whisperer, a good star whisperer. And look, a part of this job is managing egos and getting to assuage them and, comfort and, no, it's okay. You're still awesome. Okay, right? Has he learned any of that from his time in Golden State? Because, arguably, right, that was part of the reason that the Stars didn't want him in Brooklyn is because he didn't know how to deal with stars. Well, Donovan's a star, right? Like, can you handle that, right, Donovan? And to your point, Darius Garland, who was an all-star caliber player. Can you get him back to that and not have anybody's noses out of joint or feel like, I don't like how this is going? The delicate, soft skills in managing a team. Did he pick up any of that from Steve? I'll be curious to see if that happened.
Yeah, I was talking to a head coach recently for the first time, actually. And he had a great quote to me. He said, at the end of the day, I'm a player's coach. And he said, so when we have disputes and disagreements, I normally find myself siding with my players. And I thought to myself, boy, it'd be great to hear CEOs and regular managers think that way, right? Support your employees. You still have to manage ego, because if you're good to all your players, if you're good to one player anyway, the other ones expect something similar. But that's not a bad place to be, I don't think.
Mm-hmm.
As people have been recruiting my daughter, they were really selling their culture. Well, it's easy to sell culture. Do you have it? I watched tape of Shaka Smart's Marquette team. Did you see this video yesterday?
No, I'm not.
So I don't know what the player did to get in trouble, or if he's in trouble. He may not have been, but he was having to run. And like his whole team, that's the kind of thing my son would always do. He was never letting a player run by himself. He was going to run with him. But this team, like a bunch of other guys did as well, they were so invested, and you could see this exhausted player starting to go faster and faster. Like Shaka Smart may never win a national championship, but there's something good going on there.
Mm-hmm.
And I've known Shaka since he was like 20 years old.
Very good
in fact,
coach.
One of my former players,
Very good coach and culture builder.
Yeah. One of my former players that I trained in the 90s hired Shaka as an assistant at Dayton in the 90s. That's how far back I go. He's like part of the family. And so, yeah, I'd like to see Kenny just, Golden State has a great culture prior to the Draymond punch anyway. And we'll see. They have the talent there, though, to be really, really good. Really good.
That's what we're waiting to see. Kenny, what'd you pick up over there? Miami Heat.
I've been wondering, are they going to shoot more threes as a 5? I think they will. I think they're 3 5s. I think Thomas Bryant will beat out Kevin Love. Mm-hmm. He'll shoot threes. Kevin Love will probably play and shoot threes. And I think Bam will shoot threes. Mm-hmm. I think they'll play more up-tempo. So I've already said all that. So I want to bring something new, which is I'm wondering what Terry Rozier has. Because they're desperate for a point guard. Yeah. And people have forgotten that that's what it used to be. Like in Boston, when Kyrie was out and he was like a rookie or second-year player going to the Eastern Conference Final, he was a point guard.
Sure was.
He's really an incredible scoring point guard. Can he run the team also? Because, boy, would that be nice. And then I'll add on the word I'm hearing behind the scenes is Tyler Hero has gotten the message that first of all, he said it publicly. I just want to win. Whatever I have to do to win. You don't get to be Tyler Hero and just on talent, Jarod.
Right.
This is where he's from. He's a decent athlete. Like, let's be fair. It's not like this guy can't dunk on you or whatever. But he's slight. And he's not super athletic. He's a good athlete. He's weak compared to a lot of these other guys. He's a terrific talent. When you score over 20 games in this league, you're amazing.
Very good.
And so he's heard all the beatdowns.
No doubt.
And what he's saying and what I'm hearing in Miami is, oh, this guy's turned a corner. So if Rozier can also get back to where he has been, it's been a while, that team changes a lot. And so I'm wondering what we're going to see from Terry Rozier, because in November, if he's cooking at 14, 15 points a game and distributing assists, low turnovers, assuming the other guys do what they can do, I think they're going to be a sneaky good team.
My question is, what can a Nikola Jovic leap mean to this team? This is year 3.
That'd be huge.
And year 3 is about a time where players the game starts slowing down a little bit more. They start getting things. I like some of the stuff I saw from him in the Olympics. I like stuff I saw from him last year on the court. Has he continued to learn and grow? Because he's a unique player, the unique skill set, right? So if he's already a net positive player on EPM, but if he's a little bit better than that, well, now we got some things. So I'll be curious to see if he can make a leap. All right. The defending champion Boston Celtics. Now we're in the contender phase.
I'm wondering, I'm not worried about Porzingis. I'm not worried about their starters. I'm not worried about their focus. I'm wondering, okay, where's that elasticity coming from? I think Brad Stevens has put together a hell of a roster. I think Pritchard and Hauser, we know who they are. Can they do more? Probably. Certainly Pritchard can. They've got Namus Keita as a big 5, as opposed to Tillman being more of a utility 5. They've got some really talented two-way players. They drafted Shireman from Creighton, a really high-level shooter. And normally you would think rookies are going to suck, but he ain't a rookie. He He ain't a 1 year and done guy.
Mm-hmm.
Played, I think, 4 years of college. And he's surrounded by those guys, a bunch of adults.
Yep.
So it's the dream for a rookie to be playing with those guys. And I only have them winning, I don't remember, 57 games maybe after 64 last year. But if they have a whole nother group of young players to mix in with those veterans, they're going to be monsters again. They're better than they were last year, potentially.
You know, you always talk about human nature. It's a difficult thing, right? Success is hard to repeat. We know repeating in this league is fucking hard because there's only been so many teams that have done it. And it's not that I don't think they're talented anymore. My question is, what is Joe Mazzulla's message or theme for the team this season, right? Every year, most coaches come in with like a thing, right? This is how we're going to kind of derive our, you know, our mantra or whatever. What is it this season? We won last year. We got to the top of the mountain. You know, I don't think it's going to be as simple as let's get there again, right? Like, what is the thing that now continues to be that carrot in front for his guys? I'll be curious to see how he manages that this season.
I have a guess to that, by the way. I have no idea.
Okay.
You want to hear my guess?
Yeah.
Well, I shouldn't say it. I shouldn't say it's a guess because I have no clue what Joe was thinking. I don't know Joe. What I would do is I would reference the Warriors' return to the finals after they won their first one.
When they lost,
that was the year that was the year they set the record. I wouldn't worry about the record, but I would say if we can be competitive, like we want the record, as long as you guys don't get mad at me when I play you less, because I've got to let these young guys breathe. Because now we'll be so prepared for injuries and fouls in the playoffs. But let's go in with the approach of we expect to win every game we play, and let's really try to do it. Because if you test them that way, I mean, this team I think is more talented than that Warriors team.
Sure,
the style the Warriors play was great, but we always forget Boston had the best offense of all time last year. It'll go down a little bit because if they don't call as many fouls. But they were used to that anyway. And they're elite defense, too, defensive team. So, yeah, I'd like to see him say, one game at a time. They always say that. But we're really going to coach you to win every single game. We're going to prepare every game to win the game. You have to understand you're not playing 40 minutes tonight. We have to do it without you guys playing more than 34 to 36, whatever, at most. And let's hold these other guys accountable. Because if we take that approach, we'll get into the postseason. We're going to be good.
My mistake, folks. We jumped right to our contenders, and I skipped one last team in the playoff round, the Orlando Magic. What is your question for the Orlando Magic, David? Or what are you wondering about the Magic?
I'm wondering two things. Can Suggs play the point? It's a fair question.
Yes.
He's not been extended, I don't believe, still. And I'm wondering about Wagner's three. He's being paid a max deal now. He's nowhere nearly as effective in terms of down the road to earn that contract without it. He's a good player no matter what, for sure. If he can get back to 36, 38+% from three, it's a game changer for them. It really is. Because Paolo, I think, is going to make. I'm not worried about Paolo.
Yeah, really fine.
I do have some concerns about both Suggs and Wagner. And yeah, with Jalen, elite defensively, can you maintain that while you make a jump on offense? You made a jump as a shooter. Now let's make a jump as a quarterback for this team. So we know our point guard of the future. Otherwise, we're shopping. Because they got to find a quarterback with those two guys.
I'm with you. My question is, what is Jonathan Isaac's offensive ceiling? I know what his defensive ceiling is. That's Defensive Player of the Year. What is his offensive ceiling? He shot almost 37% from three last year.
Good from the corners.
Right.
Really good from the corners.
Is that a thing? And can he add the top of the break three, top of the key three too? Because if that is a thing, and he's can rim run and attack and catch lobs and all that,
that's super scary.
Well, now, cooking with some serious grease now.
Yeah, because it's him, Banchero, and Wagner 3, 4, 5, or you go jumbo with Wendell Carter at the 5, and then Isaac, then Paolo, then Wagner at the 2.
Yes,
and Suggs isn't a huge one, but he's a super athletic, powerfully built one. That's a big group that's gonna murder you on the glass.
Oh my God, and maul you on defense. So
and score in the paint a lot too.
Good luck. All right, back to our contenders. Knicks, what are you wondering about in New York?
Just where are they in terms of commitment to recognizing science? I know what Henry said about, you're asking Tom Thibodeau, not be Tom Thibodeau, but Tom still has to keep his job. And so management does have a say in the matter. If management were to say, here's what I would do if I was running the team, I would just I would be open with the press, like, we expect him to recognize that he's made one conference finals in his entire head coaching career, and that was the first year he ever did it. He's dragged his teams into the mud ever since, and so we showed him the science, and so we're asking him to develop a bench. We'd like to have 11, 12 players able to play. We'll play 9 most games, but let's have 12 good enough to do it. Let's develop our two-way guys. We want to get into April with everyone super healthy, and we're going to hold the head coach accountable to do just that. I just wonder if that can happen.
My question is, who does Thibodeau trust beyond the top 6 rotation guys? So, great minds think alike.
Yeah.
All right. Philadelphia 76ers.
Oh boy. I used to think Nick Nurse was the guy, and I don't know if I'm right. And so, yeah, I'm wondering where he's going to come here. He's got 3 glorious players on the top end. He's going to have to coach up everybody else, and he doesn't like doing that. He really likes to play a tight bench. And can he deliver, in 2 cases, they're injury prone or old. In Paul George's case, or elderly anyway, for the league. Can he manufacture, like Tom, a decent rotation where it's going to be different players contributing? I got to believe Daryl is going to be someone involved more in what the science says, but you got to deliver these guys to the postseason healthy. And I'd rather them be 5th seed, which is about the lowest they can get, I think,
right,
and have those guys healthy, than top 4.
And someone's hurt.
And wondering if they're going to wear down. Yeah.
I love when what you wonder either answers my question or it supplements it. So what I'm wondering about Philadelphia is health the only question mark for this team? And it's so yes and no, because you're also saying, well, Nurse might be my question mark, and by extension, because of that, like the health, because he's not going to play other guys. That team has got a bunch of veteran dudes, like a bunch. Eric Gordon, Reggie Jackson. I know I'm missing a bunch of others, but like just a bunch of guys who know how to play and are smart basketball players. And Joel said this either today or sometime during on media day. Like, yeah, if a doctor says, you're not supposed to play, what are you going to do? It's like, it'll be tough to not play. It's like, bro, that's not what I want to hear from you. I want to hear I'm going to follow the medical professionals, because what matters most to me is being at my best come April. That's what I want to hear from you, Joel Embiid. And we know that's always been a thing for him, right? Throughout his entire career, is being ready when it matters the most, which is come April. So time will tell what happens there. All right, last team, the Indiana Pacers.
I mean, most people will question their defense, but I'll point out that after the All-Star break, they finished 18th. And the league changed their fouls a little bit. Indiana was the worst at fouling, but I don't think they were the last 2 months of the season. I could be wrong, but I think they were better. They had the best offense in the regular season next to Boston. They had the best offense in the postseason. And so, to me, it gets down. I think the deepest team in the league. I think it's down to Tyrese. I think if I was I don't bet. If I was a betting man, 1 week into the season, if I saw Tyrese looking like Tyrese from last year, I'd bet on them to win a championship, just because of they're going to have this elite offense again, without question. If Tyrese is combination Steve Nash, Steph Curry, and they're going to, I mean. Again, they made tweaks. If early in the season it was guard your yard, I believe is how they phrased it. Which really was nobody's helping anybody, and they gave up more layups than anyone in the league. They guarded threes and gave up layups. But that changed over time, and even in the postseason, they really started just kind of like grabbing Siakam, don't guard Josh Hart, and just loiter around the rim like a lot of other teams do, and it worked. I mean, they won 4 or 5 games in back-to-back series against teams that are used to winning. I know Milwaukee and New York were beat up, but they're still used to winning.
Yep.
That's not nothing. And they played Boston. I watched a lot of the games recently just to get ready for the Celtics. Like, they easily could have lost 3 of those first 4 games. They controlled 1 game. They were losing in the fourth quarter of 3 other games. That means there's a coin flip games. It just didn't come up in their favor, which means you're playing decent defense against the best offense of all time. And so I don't worry about any of that. They're deeper. No one is descending on the team. Literally no one. Almost everyone's ascending. Mathurin didn't even play in the playoffs at all. And I've heard amazing reports just 2 days in. He's got to grow for sure. If Tyrese is that guy again, which we have every reason to think he can get there. It's not like he tore his ACL or his Achilles.
Right.
It was a hamstring injury. That's serious. But nevertheless, there's no reason to think he can't do it. And like I said, 1 weekend, I don't care what the record is 1 weekend. If he's got 45 in one game, 32 and 13 assists in another, then I'd probably tell someone to put $100 onto the Pacers. Not because you'll get great odds. Right. I don't expect to win. I would not make them a favorite. But that's a good team to bet on because they're loaded. They're really a super talented team with a lot of elasticity given how young they are.
Yeah.
Don't even get me started on can this team unlock Weissman even as a backup, which would be amazing.
Imagine.
Nembhard. What if Nembhard's the same? I mean, I watched those games again, mostly to focus on Boston, but he scored on everybody. No. Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, Derek White, Jrue Holiday. It did not matter. And he kept doing it. And he had a bunch of big games before Tyrese was out in Game 6 and Games 3 and 4. Siakam murdered the Bucks and led their team in the postseason scoring. Miles Turner's in a contract year. They've got Jarod Walker also, who's super talented. I could go on and on. I just think they're loaded. But without Tyrese, they go down to being an average team.
It's so interesting because obviously I'm as high on Indiana as coach is. But my question, however, is how will the Pacers handle success? David always talks about this, and we can go through chapter and verse of teams that have a great year, and then next year, for whatever reason, it just doesn't work out the same way. The Atlanta Hawks, we just talked about them a little while ago when they went to the conference finals. Year 2, crap. Sacramento Kings were a 2 seed. Next year, they even not make the playoffs. Were they playing? Whatever. We're not able to sustain it. I think this team will be fine, but I want to know how they're going to handle success. And I think I'll know that within the first 10 games of the season. I will be able to tell by how, what their body language and attitude is and how they're approaching the games. If they're like, no. Last year was just the beginning. We're here to really do this thing versus, we're fine. We know we can get to the conference finals, because that type of belief and attitude, recipe for disaster. You will not make it back.
Yeah. I'll give you 2 things that I think will help me decide whether or not they're on that way. One is I know the Pacers coaches and whatever. I was able to go watch them work out in Orlando at Siakam's gym. And that did not look like a team. Good. It helps to have Pascal, who's like crazy humble, who flat out told the group, I've seen him on TV and stuff. Man, I was in year 3. We won the championship. I figured we're going to the championship every year. No, haven't won a series since.
Correct.
And Nick has similar stories. But I tell you the most important thing. Tyrese posts a picture on Instagram. Remember, I forget what he wrote. It was super funny, though, where he didn't do anything on the class project, still got the A. That's what it was.
Yeah.
That was a pretty humble thing for Tyrese, who's now making a Supermax deal.
Yep.
And then I saw him in media day, asked the question about defense. Do you see this?
No, I did not. What did he say?
Oh, my God. The best. Tyrese said, when asked about his defense, he said, people always credit me for being such a high IQ player. He's like, but I've been watching my film this summer, and I just made so many stupid mistakes on defense. I was shocked. You and I have watched a lot of media day stuff. And I'd never heard that before. I was so impressed with Tyrese. So that's 2 things now that shows me I've got the Supermax deal, and I have this gigantic personality. I saw him in an interview the other day where the Pacers did a cool thing where they showed him, Jarod Walker, and Nembhard signing. They were supposed to sign an autograph on a picture, but it was an old picture of themselves, not a Pacers picture. And Tyrese's, it was him as prom king.
Oh, nice.
No surprise.
Yeah.
And by the way, it was like I forget what it was, like a candy thing that he wore on his head as a king. It wasn't like a crown.
Yeah.
And he was so joyous. But of course he was prom king. Like, he's that personality, right? Not that to say he may have been valedictorian. I have no idea. He's a smart kid. But he's just so full of effervescence. He's bubbly. And for him also to admit I was a dumbass on defense, that's a good sign, because they've got a bunch of good defenders now. That's one reason why it's not a shock that they moved up to 18. They added Siakam. They started Nembhard. They started Nesmith instead of Buddy Hield. And Buddy was a starter, obviously. Obi Toppin had to start some. Mathurin was starting. He was out. Bad defender. No surprise. If Tyrese just is Steph Curry like.
Yes, just be net neutral. Just be net neutral.
Yeah. Then all of a sudden, this is a team that can, and the way they play, just remember, you and I first talked about the phrase stacking actions. I love to tell you that I came up with it. It's possible I didn't. I listen to a lot of podcasts. I just steal so fast. My brain's sticky that way. You say something smarter than anything I've ever thought before, I own it. I have no memory. If I normally I do remember, but I'm old now, so I forget. But it's such a sticky brain. So they stack actions, man. They come. It's not just their full court racing, which is also a thing to get back in defense. But the fact that action after action, it's just nonstop. Matthews slows it down. Siakam does a little bit, but not a lot. He had more ISOs than normal for the Pacers, but not great, top 20, whatever in ISOs. Tyrese plays defense, and they start playing defense collectively to league average.
Yeah,
they're legit.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, I like this team a lot. I'm excited for them this season. I'm excited for the entire NBA season. All right, folks, have a great weekend. We'll be back on Monday with part 2, the Western Conference, and that'll finish up our 30 questions for 30 NBA teams, and then there'll be some preseason games to talk about, and then we'll do our preseason awards predictions, MVP, blah, 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 all those kinds of things. All right, everybody, take care.